Welcome to Reality with Kiki. I'm your host, Kiki, and on this channel, we discuss reality TV, celebrity gossip, and viral topics. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like our content. You can also follow us on our Facebook page. A link will be in the description box below, and we also have it linked in our bio. Okay, so ready to love. So this episode starts off with a happy hour mixer type thing, and there's a couple of the guys there, and Tasia is the first woman to show up. She's like, perfect. I'm gonna ask about what happened last week. So she's asking them, like, what was up? Like, why were you guys about to send me home? Why did you have me in the bottom too? And one of the guys was like, I never even got a chance to interact with you, so I'm not really sure. The other guys pretty much did not answer her question. And I was like, that's interesting because y'all had so much to say when y'all was sitting with Tommy, but now nobody knows nothing? Okay. Okay, so this week, the ladies get to choose a man to go home. And there were a couple of interactions that caught my attention. So Carrie was engaging in a conversation with Carrington, and she was not really feeling him. She just felt like he just had a bunch of straightforward questions. It really wasn't engaging or really going anywhere. And I just was wondering, like, right, like you like who you like. And I feel like for a lot of these people, like, it doesn't matter if this person is not charming and you're not attracted to them, like, it's just like an immediately no. But I'm like, okay, but like, did you try to change the direction of the conversation? Did you start bringing up other things or things that you wanted to talk about? Or was it just pretty much like, he's asking me these questions, I'm not really feeling him, so it's just a dub from there? And the other interaction at the mixer was with Sabrina and Corey. Corey's like, all right, like, I want to take you out on a date and all of these things. And she's just like, no, get to know me here. And then we could talk about a date later. He's like, well, being on a date, I'm just trying to take you on a date because that's my element. And, if I could get you on a date, I could, get you to laugh and all of these things. And I'm just like, no. If you are funny, you can make her laugh right now, but you're not because you're not funny. And y'all know how I feel about him from the first episode. I wanted him out of here because he's so corny. Oh my goodness. And like, based on some of the interactions he's had and some of the things that he has said, I get the feeling that Corey doesn't have any game because he's never had to spit any game, right? Like, he's tall, he's darker, he many women probably find him attractive. So there are women who probably come on to him and he ain't never have to work for nothing. And would probably typically avoid, I'm not acting like I know his life, but it seems like he would probably avoid a lot of the women on the show like this because these are like grown women who got their stuff together. Like, you're not about to just woo them and sweep them off their feet with your words or your corny jokes. So then next thing you know, it's the next day and Corey and Mumin are going on a date. So he asks her out after changing her flat tire the previous night, and she complied. She said yes. And He asked her, okay, so first of all, let's get into the date. The date is a nature walk or a picnic in the woods. I don't know. I was like, what is this? You did all that talking and you trying to take out 20 different women, but you taking this girl on a nature walk for a picnic? Girl, please. But anyway, she seemed to be enjoying herself, have a good time because he like, oh, does your view of me change? And she's like, yes, because acts of service is my love language, and because he changed her tire yesterday. I said, girl, please, AAA would have changed that tire just as quickly. But they having a conversation. He's making corny jokes. She says his jokes are actually corny, but he makes her laugh. They're sitting on this like tree stump eating. I don't even know what they're eating, but I was just like, could never be me. I don't do nature and I hate bugs, so mm-mm. But anyways, um, then they have this cringy scene where he's like sitting behind her as they're straddling this tree stump, and I'm like, yeah, okay, next. Okay, so Camille decides to set up a double date with herself, Cornelius, of course, Courtney, and Walter. So she said the purpose of her setting up this date was to see how Cornelius is interacting with Courtney so that she can shut it down because that is her man. And it's like, girl, you better relax before you get your feelings hurt because he seems to really take a liking to Courtney, and it may be equal to as much as he like Camille, but she might push him away. He might run away because she's doing the most. So we know Camille goes extra hard for Cornelius, and so they start having different conversations about like religion and sex before marriage, and then Camille says something about not having intercourse during your period. And Walter is like, that ain't a red light, ain't stopping no show over here. And she's like, ew, he's a freak. And I was like, he sound like a grown man to me. And she also called Courtney a freak. And I'm just like, girl, you really doing a lot. You try to say anything to downplay this girl. And Courtney is just so unassuming about Camille. She probably sees her making eyes at her or like, throwing little bits of shade, but she's just like, bubbly and like living her life. And Camille over here looking at her with the evil stank eye, like, girl, you need to back up off my man. But she's just trying to say anything so that when she have a conversation with Cornelius, she could say those same things to him to try to change his perspective. But like, girl, that is not how that's gonna work. You being a pick me ain't gonna make that man leave Courtney alone. So Zadia and Tyrone go on a date. It was nice. They seem to enjoy each other's company. Tyrone opened up about his PTSD, and he's had that conversation with Zadia, and she appreciated that, and they were talking about different things. Carrington and Aisha have a date, and she's like, tell me about your last relationship. And he's like, well, it wasn't really a relationship, it was a situationship. Okay. So then she asks him if he's ever cheated. And he's like, well, I've never had a girlfriend, so I can't cheat. I couldn't have cheated on anybody. And I'm like, that was like a red flag for me just because, like, you're 30 something and you're telling this woman that you've never had a girlfriend, and then like, so that means you were like in a bunch of a situationships. And to me that sounds like you were in these situationships and acting like you were in a relationship, but you didn't want titles, so that's why it never went that far, just so that when you start doing your thing and dealing with other women, they can't come to you and say, oh, why you cheating on me, because we're not in a relationship. I don't know. That seems shady to me. And it's just like, so you never had a girlfriend, but now all of a sudden you want to find love and you never even tried with anybody else before, that sounds suspicious.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Okay, so the ladies sit down to meet with Tommy to talk about who they're feeling and who they're not. And so, of course, Camille's the first one to speak up. Oh, I just love Cornelius. That's my black king. And I'm laughing because to see is like, I'm also feeling Cornelius. And Kiri jumps in and says, me too, girl. I'm really liking Cornelius. And Camille is turning up her face, all types of crazy. And I'm sorry, like I'm just not seeing it for Camille. Like I really don't think that she's gonna end up with Cornelius, and that might break her heart. But she's just putting too much into him too early. It's too early. So for the bottom two, they have Corey, of course, but it's been like that since the first episode. And then they are a lot of the ladies are not really feeling Carrington. They feel like he's really surface level. They're not really getting to know him. And Sabrina brings up a phone call that she had with him. So she said she was talking to him and she just was like, you're like 12, 13 years younger than me, right? And he immediately like cops an attitude and is like going off like, oh, if that's something that you can't deal with, then you need to move on. And I'm like, hold up. Who is he talking to like that? So they decide on Carrington to send him home, and Camille is the one who has to break the news to him. So she takes him out on a date. And I think that initially he thought it was just like a regular date. But as the more she talked, he understood that it was his time was coming to an end. So I don't know, his energy and his air, like the way he just like is talking to her, the way he comes in, it's just very like pompous, very sassy, just very like full of himself, like, you know, this is who I am, and if you can't match me or match my energy, then you need to get lost. Like, that's what he gives me. And, she was just kind of like going over things with him, and he's like, you know, filling in her sentences, if that makes sense, like talking over her. So, like, even when she was getting ready to say, a lot of the ladies at this time, he's like, I'm not ready to love. Like, let the girl finish the sentence. And he just was like, he was bringing the same energy that Sabrina said he was over the phone. So, like, what she described, he was giving some of that to Camille. So I'm like, okay, what she said was the truth. So maybe this was for the best. And I'm trying to remember because there was a thread on Twitter before this season launched and they had all the singles posted. There were a few people on Twitter calling some of these men out because they know them from the DC area. And they were like, oh, he's portraying himself to be something that he's not. And I think he was one of those people. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into it again. But you guys let me know down in the comments below what you thought about this episode. And I will speak to you next time.